You press F4 and select the grouping for release procedure or release strategy, which is 032. These class types are standard. They are the same whether in practice or in the real time. So enter these values, click on create, enter a description to identify the release class and specify the validity period. I'm going to take the end of the current year as the validity period. Click on characteristics and enter the codes for the characteristics that we just created. Pressing enter will show the description of those characteristics. Once you have that, click on save. Done. Next step will be to define the release procedure. Click on execute. Double click on release groups. Whatever release groups you see here, select everything and delete. Okay. Save it. After deleting, save the. Now click on new entries, enter a 2-character code, the class code, and the description for the release group. Now the release group code need not start with Y or Z, you can start it with anything. Done. So create only one release group for each document. So since we are going to create it for purchase order, we are going to create only one release group. Click on back, double click on release codes. You should not see any entries here. Click on new entries and enter a code for each level of approval. Senior manager 03, general manager, purchase executive, purchase manager. I'm just randomly giving the levels as you can understand. In the real time, the client is going to give me the levels of approval for different documents. I'm going to configure it as required. Done. Next step would be to define the release indicator. Double click on it. Now, you can define the release indicator in two ways. One indicator specifying that it is still pending for approval. First delete all the entries. Save it. Then click on new entries. Enter a 1-character code. In the changeable column, specify whether the document is changeable after creation or not. Usually it is not changeable. Then give a description, blocked pending for approval or whatever you want to call it as, blocked for approval. Or now for the ID that you're going to use to indicate the released status, check the released column checkbox. Changeable will again be cannot be changed, option 1, and description would be approved, no changes, whatever you want to call it. Save it. Back, go to strategies. Now we're going to use all the elements that we have created so far to create the strategy. Enter the release group, strategy code, give a description for that strategy code. In this strategy, I'm going to use for the first level of approval, which is the manager level. Since the manager is the first level of approval, there will be no prerequisites for approval. You just click on continue here. Status, if it is not approved, it will be blocked. If it is approved, it should show approved, no changes. Click on continue. Classification. Now here, please remember that you should not enter the values directly. Press F4 and select it from the options list. The reason is if you enter the value, the system will not accept that value. So press F4, select the value from the pop-up, click on back, save it. So in this way, create the strategies for each and every final approval level. Second strategy, I'm going to use 2 codes for the senior manager. Usually the higher you go, the number of people reporting to him, all those reportees have to approve before the final approval level can approve it. So senior managers, usually manager will first approve it, then send it to the senior manager for approval. So in the prerequisite for 02, check the checkbox under 01. Click on continue. Release status, blocked and approved. Classification, press F4, select the document type. Value, press F4 and select the relevant value. Back, save, again back. So in this way, we need to create the strategies for each and every level. I'm just going to quickly go through this. Third level, I'm going to use all the three levels, prerequisites. So 0201, 0302 will be the prerequisite. Status, blocked, approved. Classification, F4, select the document type. Value, select the appropriate value. Now when creating the characteristic for the value, please ensure that the values are properly defined for all the levels. VG01, standard purchase order release. First release will be for one level of approval, again no prerequisite. Status, again the same. Classification, now the document type will change and the value for that level will also change. So when the document type is this and if the value is less than this value of the document, then this level will be used for approving the document. New entries, VG second, standard second. I'm going to use two levels, prerequisite. For 1211 will be the prerequisite, status, classification, document type, and the value. Back and save. Next one. Yeah, it's a little tedious, I can understand, but this is something which is mandatory for every purchase process, especially with the purchase order. Without defining the approval strategy, documents can never be approved. So now we have all the strategies required for creating the document. Let's see how this configuration is going to affect the end user at the creation of the document. So we'll create a purchase order of either the standard document type or the new one that we created. So we go to ME21N, select the document type, enter the vendor number. You can select any vendor number here for our practice, just for creating the document. So here enter any plant. Is the way that we created it earlier. Just create the document, enter some quantity, specify the delivery date, enter the plant, and enter the purchasing organization and purchasing group. Prices. If the price is not updated, enter some price here. So press enter, and once you go to the header part, it will show me the total value for this document. When you click on check, based on the release procedure, now you'll have a new tab called release strategy assigned, showing you the levels of approval required for approving this document. When you change the quantity, the value is going to change. Now when I click on check again, the strategy is also going to change. So like this, based